everyone, welcome to Study Buddy Homeschooling. In today's session, we'll be seeing the chapter Our Environment. It is from CBSE Class 10 Science. So the first topic that we're going to be seeing is ecosystem and its components. So what is meant by ecosystem? Ecosystem is a geographical area where plants, animals, humans, microbes, as well as the physical components like temperature, rainfall, water, they all work together to make the place livable. This is known as ecosystem. This ecosystem is basically divided into biotic components and abiotic components. Biotic components refer to the living organisms like plants, animals, humans and microbes. And abiotic components refer to the physical components like temperature, rainfall, soil, air and water. You have to remember that without abiotic components, it is very difficult for the biotic components to survive. They work hand in hand. So there is a constant interaction between the biotic and abiotic components in an ecosystem. So the study of interaction between the biotic and abiotic components in an environment is known as ecology. Here you can see two pictures here. One is from the forest ecosystem and pond ecosystem. So there are several ecosystems like this, like desert ecosystem, marine ecosystem, grassland ecosystem. If you look at the picture here, the plants and animals which are found in a forest ecosystem, they're completely different from plants and animals and microbes which are present in a pond ecosystem. Now let's see organisms at different trophic levels. So you have a pyramid here with organisms at different trophic levels. At the base of the pyramid, we have producers. They form the first trophic level. So these producers, as the name suggests, they produce their own food. They are the autotrophs. They derive their energy from the sun to make the food. They occupy the bottom of the pyramid. Examples are phytoplanktons, grass and trees. They form the first trophic level. And then at the next trophic level, we have what is called primary consumers. Examples of primary consumers are cow, deer, grasshopper, zooplanktons. These are herbivores. They get their energy by eating the producers. They are at the second trophic level. At the third trophic level, we have what is called secondary consumers. They are also known as carnivores. They directly consume the primary consumers like cow, deer, etc. They don't feed on the producers. At the top of the pyramid, we have what is called tertiary consumers or the top carnivore. Example, man and lion. There are 2 points to be remembered with respect to the pyramid. The first point is flow of energy is unidirectional. You'll have to remember that the flow of energy in this pyramid is unidirectional. It's the producers which give the energy to the primary consumers. It's the primary consumers which give the energy to the secondary consumers. It's the secondary consumers which give the energy to the tertiary consumers. It is not the other way around where tertiary consumers give the secondary consumers. No, it is not working that way. The flow of energy is only from producers to primary consumers, primary to secondary consumers, secondary to tertiary consumers. So the flow of energy is unidirectional. So these producers get the energy from the sunlight. So sunlight gives the energy to producers, producers to primary consumers. It is not that the producers are going to be giving the energy to the sunlight. It never happens. It's only from the sunlight the producers get their energy, producers to primary consumers. So this flow of energy is unidirectional. And another important point is the energy flow. When it happens from one level to another level, there is always loss of energy in the form of heat or digestion or which is used up during reproduction. So there is always loss of energy at each trophic level. As organisms grow from one trophic to another trophic level, there is always loss of energy at each trophic level which is given out to the environment, or they are used as for digestion, they're used for reproduction or used for different metabolic activities. But somehow they are all used up, and for the next level very little energy is left out. So these 2 points you have to remember. Flow of energy is unidirectional and the energy available at each trophic level gets diminished progressively due to loss of energy at each level. Let's see food chain and food web. So what is food chain? Flow of energy at each trophic level is known as food chain. Here 3 examples of food chain is given. One is in the forest, in the grassland and in a pond. If you see in the forest, the first example, plants are being eaten away by deer, which is a herbivore, and this deer is eaten by a tiger. This is how energy flow happens. And second example is in a grassland where grasses are being eaten by grasshopper. Grasshopper is being eaten by frog. Frog is eaten by snake. Snake is eaten by a vulture. So this is how energy flows. So this flow of energy from at each level is known as the food chain in a natural environment, in an ecosystem. The flow of energy in an ecosystem is known as food chain. And what is food web? A complicated food chain is known as food web. In nature, the flow of energy is not always going to be in a particular pattern. It's not going to be always in this flow. It could be random as well. For example, this plant's eaten by rabbit. Rabbit could be eaten by a fox, or it could be eaten by a wolf, or it could be eaten by a vulture, or it could be eaten by a tiger. It's very random and not as simple as shown here. It is very complicated, and this complicated food chain is known as food web. Now let's see the topic biological magnification. It's a very important topic and it applies to aquatic ecosystem, be it pond ecosystem, river ecosystem or marine ecosystem. What happens is industries, they always throw their waste, effluents, industrial effluents, rich in all chemicals like DDT, mercury and all heavy metals. They're all let out into the water bodies, be it river or lake or pond. What exactly happens is, here there's an example which is given where the water is contaminated with DDT. Here DDT is a pesticide which is let out from the industries. So what exactly happens is, this water has 0.003 ppb, parts per billion of DDT. So these water is being used by zooplanktons which live in the water. So these zooplanktons use up water for their growth. So as they use, the DDT from the water gets accumulated in their bodies. These organisms do not have a mechanism either to metabolize them, digest them, or to throw them out. They don't have any of the mechanism. So they retain this DDT in their bodies. So what happens is, they consume water at different points of the time. So this DDT keeps on accumulating and it reaches a point, for example, where 0.04 parts per million of DDT is accumulated in the zooplankton. So now this zooplankton is eaten by a small fish. So this small fish probably eats the zooplankton at different times. So all the DDT gets slowly accumulated from different times from the zooplankton, and the DDT levels in the fish, small fish, increases to 0.5 parts per million. It's about a tenfold increase here. Again, this small fish gets eaten by a large fish. So probably it would have eaten the small fish many times. It would have eaten many small fish. So the DDT keeps on accumulating, thereby leading to 2 parts per million accumulation of DDT in the large fish. So this, at the top here you have a large bird which eats a large fish. So again, all the DDT would go into the large fish, birds. This bird could eat the large fish and small fish, and finally the DDT in the birds goes up to 25 parts per million, because this bird would eat the large bird, many small fishes, so many large fish and many small fishes, so leading to the accumulation of more DDT in their bodies. Sometimes humans also eat these fishes at several times, small fish, big fish, thereby leading to the accumulation of DDT in their bodies also. So what happens is, the chemicals, as it moves from each trophic level, the concentration of the chemicals increases as it moves from one level to another level. This increase in the chemical which happens naturally because by sheer numbers, this is known as biological magnification. It is highly toxic, especially humans when we consume these fishes which are contaminated. There is a huge risk of poisoning, food poisoning happening. Ozone layer and how it is getting depleted. Ozone layer is composed of O3 molecules, 3 oxygen atoms. So this ozone layer is found in the stratosphere of the atmosphere. This ozone layer plays a very important role in the prevention of entry of ultraviolet radiation into the earth. So what happens is, if this ozone layer is destroyed, the UV radiation can enter into the atmosphere very easily, thereby causing lots of skin cancers in humans and causing harm to animals. Now, so let's see how the ozone is formed. Ozone, O2 oxygen molecule, in the presence of UV gets broken up into O plus O, oxygen plus 2 oxygen atoms. Now this oxygen again clubs up with oxygen molecule to give O3 molecule. So UV again is used in the formation of ozone. Now what happens is, let's see how this ozone molecules are getting disintegrated. So the thickness of the ozone is measured by what is known as Dobson units. So this thickness of ozone layer is getting destroyed by chemicals known as chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. These CFCs are released by refrigerators and perfumes and from certain industries. So what this chlorine does is, this chlorine mixes up with ozone molecule and breaks down into ClO plus O2. This ClO doesn't end here. This ClO again clubs up with another O3 molecule, giving rise to Cl and 2 ozone molecules. So this way what happens is, Cl acts as a catalyst only, and finally at the end of this reaction Cl is released out. This Cl, each chlorine molecule is capable of destroying about 25,000 ozone molecules. So what happened is, in 1987 Montreal Protocol was initiated, which governs the emission of ozone depleting substances in the environment. You'll have to remember this protocol, Montreal Protocol. So which called for the ban of chlorofluorocarbons. Still this chlorine, which plays a very important role in the destruction of ozone layer, still stays in the atmosphere for a very long period of time. So now let's see another topic, managing the garbage we produce. We produce lots of garbage every day, right? This garbage is divided into biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. So what do you mean by biodegradable components? These biodegradable waste are waste which are easily decomposed by the soil bacteria. For example, if you throw a banana peel, it gets decomposed within 3-4-5 days and it is completely converted into nutrients which goes into the soil. Now there are certain substances which cannot be decomposed by the soil bacteria. They are the non-biodegradable components. Examples, plastics. So these plastics stay in the environment for a very long time and can be harmful for the living organisms. You would have seen lots of videos where marine organisms, lots of plastics are let into the oceans, and these plastics go and choke the marine organisms, leading to their death. And these plastics also prevent the entry of rainwater going into the soil. And when you burn these plastics, it's very dangerous. It produces the chemicals known as dioxin, which is highly cancerous. So this plastics, it should not be thrown out. If we are using in home, it's okay. But if it's thrown out, what happens is it gets choked outside because it's not going to be decomposed by the soil bacteria. They stay in the soil, thereby blocking the entry of rainwater into the soil, thereby doesn't help in the replenishment of the groundwater. So thanks for watching. If you have any doubts, please leave your comments in the comment section. Thank you.